This is breaking news. GM Bill Zito and the Florida Panthers have made their first move of this offseason. They have acquired the man that will be backing up Sergei Bobrovsky. I'm going to be going over who he is, what his stats are, and what is this going to mean for the Cats moving forward. Is he going to be able to do the job that Vanacek was able to do, as well as Spencer Knight and previous netminders did, backing up Bobrovsky? Guys, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Panthers Digest. I'm your host, Greg Andrews. As always, hit that subscribe button down below because you guys need to stay up to date with anything and everything that has to do with your back-to-back Stanley Cup champion, Florida Panthers. Well, it's a trade. I would say it is kind of a big one because you know what? You can't have your starting goaltender start 82 games in the season. You got to have a backup. That's pretty obvious, guys. So we're going to jump right into this. The Florida Panthers, they gave up a fifth round pick, to get the goaltender from the Columbus Blue Jackets, Daniil Tarasov. Now, it might not be the sexiest trade of them all, but it was one that had to happen. Like I said, you can't have your starting goaltender play 82 games in a season. So they're bringing in a guy who was young, at 26 years old. He's played 4 years in the league. And he's a big guy, 6'5", 203 pounds. There you go. The good thing about this is he was a restricted free agent. We have the rights to him. We're going to have to sign him quick. His AAV right now is just a little over $1 million per year. He was actually on a 3-year deal that was $1 million per year with the Columbus Blue Jackets. For this signing, this is the biggest question: Is Bobrovsky going to still keep playing for another 2 or 3 years? Depending on, I think, what happens this next year, how is his health? You know, do they sign Daniil Tarasov? Is he going to be the future? In my opinion, I don't think so. With the cap room that they're going to have in the next couple of years, I see them trying to find a guy in between the pipes that is going to be spectacular. I mean, Bobrovsky is going to be a Hall of Famer. He has been nothing short of just incredible in these last 3 to 4 years. He's gotten better every year, in my opinion. And it's going to be sad to see him go, but they are going to have to find someone to take his place. And to win a Stanley Cup, you have to have a really solid goaltender playing in between the pipes. I hate to kind of throw the Edmonton Oilers under the bus, but that's a very good example of Skinner and Pickard, what happened in the Stanley Cup Finals against the Florida Panthers. They just couldn't find an answer to stopping the Panthers in the big games, and that's the reason why the Panthers closed out the series in 6 games. I know Skinner was better in previous series. Pickard got hurt, and he had some pretty good play in the playoffs, but still, you have to have literally a top, probably 6 goaltender in the league on your team between the pipes to be able to win a Stanley Cup. And that's what Bob has been able to do in the last 2 seasons. I would say, yes, the last 3 too. They did make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, but, you know, we're not going to even talk about when they play the Vegas Golden Knights. So anyways, let's talk about the numbers. This past year, he has a record of 7-10-2, 3.55 goals against average, and 880 save percentage, an 880 save percentage. He has 1 shutout this year. I'm going to show you guys some of his games, not all of them from this past season. I highlighted a few things because this is where I hope that Tarasov will work so hard this offseason and take a couple pages out of Bobrovsky's book. Learn from the best so he can get better. Because I think if we sign Tarasov, you can sign him at a steal right now and maybe have him be your backup for the next maybe 3 to 4 years. You know, take a huge cap hit, maybe keep him around that, you know, $1 million, maybe $1.1 million. So it's not really hurting your cap space. But his best year of his career was actually in 23 and 24. You can see here, there's a lot of similarities to the last 2 to 3 years. His numbers haven't really changed that much. So this past year, 7-10-2. The year before, 8-11-3. The only difference is in 23-24, he had a 3.18 goals against average and a 908 save percentage. So he was better in the previous year. But he does get in goal. He plays roughly about a quarter of the season, give or take. So 24 games in 23-24, 20 games last season. So I'm going to show you guys some of his highlights just so you can kind of get a taste for what he has done in his career so far. This is a little snippet, about 24 seconds worth of stuff that he's done over the last 2 seasons. So he's made some pretty big saves, but he's also let in a lot of easy goals. But you can see here some big stops right there. What an incredible save. That was probably the save of the year for him. This was back in 23-24. That was another great save. And there you go, flash in the glove right there. Again, he's got the ability to block some incredible shots and make some really, really solid saves. The thing for me is, again, I talked about this in previous episodes during the Stanley Cup Finals and during the Stanley Cup playoffs, that the goaltenders that I've seen kind of falter a little bit, especially in the Stanley Cup Finals, is those guys who have trouble moving laterally seem to give up a lot of goals. They have a lot of trouble because, again, all you have to do is cross ice passes. You're going to have an empty net, especially if you're going against a goaltender who does not know how to move laterally very well. They get out of position and there's a wide open net, and hopefully maybe one of your defenders can get in front of it before it hits the twine, but that is usually not the case. So I'm going to show you guys again, back to the images. These were some of his games from this past year. I know it's kind of hard for you guys to see, and I do apologize, but I can't blow this stat up for some reason. But the ones that I circled, that one at the top, he led in 7 goals in that game. The middle one, he led in 7 goals in that game. And at the bottom, there's games where he's led in 4 or 5 goals, 6 goals. So he can give up a lot. That's the one thing that I don't like about this trade, but he's a backup. I think Vanacek is better, absolutely, but the problem is he's going to cost too much. With the amount of money that needs to be spent through our cap that we have not much of, again, it's Bennett, Marchand, and Ekblad, and it's looking more and more like Ekblad will probably end up walking, but we need that $19 million to go towards the core players. And with Bob being in net for another year and his contract coming up after next season, we can just take a guy for now, sign him to a 2-3 year deal, like I said, maybe even 4, keep him at that $1.1 million per year cap hit. Not a big deal. He could stay as your backup. And I say if Bob decides to retire, which I hope he doesn't, I hope they sign him just for another 2 years. Maybe he plays till he's about 40. I've seen some analysts say he probably will play longer. He could probably play till he's 41 or 42, which I would say would be amazing. But we'll see. Again, I don't think this is a sexy trade, but it's a big one for the Panthers because they need a backup goaltender. And the thing for Bob that kind of gets me a little, I don't know if we'll see. I mean, he's come out and said so many times that in a game, he can lose up to 15 pounds from start to finish. And that's just a remarkable thing to think about in terms of the fatigue that's got to set in, the beating that his body takes. I mean, the movements that he does. But these are some of his best years that he has had in his career. So I see Bob staying. I think this guy's going to be our backup. I say you tie him down for at least 3 years, maybe 4, like I said. His AAV is not that high. I think it is a steal because we need a backup. He can come in certain games where Bob can get the rest, maybe against teams that are, maybe towards the bottom in terms of their win-loss and point totals. He can come in, hopefully hold everything down in between the pipes and be able to get the W's when necessary against those teams that are kind of the bottom feeder teams. So this was his contract, 3 years, $1,050,000. They're saying his AAV qualifying offer could be about 1.26. I think it will be less than that just because, again, the Florida being a tax-free state, he'll probably take just a little bit over $1 million. He'll probably keep it around that $1,050,000 to $1.1 million. I think that's safe to say we could do that because they do have the cap room. And I told you this before with the rumors about Evan Rodriguez possibly being a cap casualty, that will open up a little bit of wiggle room so we can sign him, maybe some other players, and we'll see what happens. So not a sexy signing, like I said, guys, but the good news is that the guy we're getting can make some good plays in between the net. It wasn't the greatest season for him last year, but he wasn't on the greatest team either. Their defense on Columbus is not the most stout defense in the league. You're in a totally different scenario when you come to the Florida Panthers. And like I said, he's going to be working alongside Sergei Bobrovsky. So hopefully we will see him improve from start to finish this next season. But the Panthers got to jump on signing him pretty quickly to a contract because he is a restricted free agent. That was the last year of his contract. But not a bad trade, giving up just a 5th round pick. So we will see how he fits into the system here. We will see young guy, 6'5", 200 pounds. So at least he's a big body in between the pipes. Let's see how this goes. But guys, so that's move number 1 so far this offseason. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things happening in the next few days because we only have 4 left until free agency begins on July 1st. Guys, again, thank you for watching and tuning in on this episode of Panthers Digest. Like I said, not the sexiest trade, but hey, it was one that had to be done. I do think it's a steal for the Panthers. So at least they knocked that one off. Check it off. We've got our backup goaltender. But anyways, guys, when there's more breaking news, I will get it to you as soon as it does break. Obviously, it won't be the second that it comes out because I want to put these videos together and have them look sexy. So anyways, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. I will have another episode coming out maybe later today, but definitely tomorrow. Again, enjoy your day. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Panthers Digest. I'm your host, Greg Andrews. And again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below, guys. You need to stay up to date with everything that's happening with this team because there's going to be a lot of things happening in the next few days. So, guys, anyways, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll put another video out later. Have a good one, guys, and go Cats.